Good afternoon and welcome. It's week 4 and it's episode 15 of the Demolition Daily live stream. Can you believe it? Let me start by apologising for the hat. I know I look a Burke, but the team over at Diggers and Dozers passed the 200,000 followers mark only today. So it seemed only fitting that I should swap one of their hats, even if I'm probably 30 years too old to be wearing it. To be honest, this is going to be a bit of an odd show today anyway, for reasons that will soon become obvious. There's no show sponsor on today's episode. And while we're planning for the second half of the show to be as upbeat and positive as possible, this first part is going to be a little bit somber, I'm afraid. So hopefully you can bear with us. On Thursday last week, the UK demolition industry lost one of its numbers to the COVID-19 disease. Phil Jones' business card probably said that he was a national account manager or something similar at Volvo Construction Equipment. But to those that knew him, Phil was way more than that. He was one of the very few, I think, that transcended the position of equipment salesman to become an integral and respected part of the wider demolition community. Of course, let's make no mistake, Volvo makes a bloody good excavator. Always have and probably always will. But the fact that those excavators have proved so popular in UK demolition circles is at least in part down to Phil. He earned such a position of trust in the demolition sector that customers didn't think they were buying from a pushy salesman. They were just following the considered advice of a kindly uncle that they knew wouldn't steer them wrong. Now, personally, I mean, I've never bought an excavator, unlikely ever to need to. But when I think of Phil, the word affable springs to mind. Before I came on air today, I thought it was best to look up the word just to make sure that it meant exactly what I thought it meant. And the definition of the word affable is friendly, good-natured, and easy to talk to. And that, in a nutshell, was Phil Jones. Many moons ago, Phil and I shot a film together at the Armac Group yard up in the Midlands. I can't share it live at the moment because I don't understand the technology well enough. But if you watch this later on YouTube or check it out on demolitionnews.com, you'll be able to see the film. The film itself was shot on a really horrible, primitive old camera, so it's not particularly good to look at. But Phil's knowledge and his passion and just the depth of his experience shines through. There are cuts in the video, and they're probably a result of me fluffing my lines or coughing or giggling in the background. But if recollection serves me correctly, I'm fairly sure that Phil did his part in a single take. He really was the consummate professional. Now, even at a time when national and international news delivers the daily COVID death toll with a horrible monotony, Phil's passing seems just especially cruel. See, under normal circumstances, in an event like this, the UK demolition industry would traditionally gather to pay their respects and to give Phil the kind of send-off that his hard work and his dedication so richly deserved. Sadly, these aren't normal circumstances. This terrible pandemic has prematurely taken Phil away from his family and his friends. It's robbed a thoroughly decent man of his life and a retirement he'd so richly deserved. It's robbed the industry of a really, really nice man. It's taken away the opportunity for us to say goodbye. And I think most cruelly of all, it will prevent the UK demolition industry from showing Phil's family just how much he was respected and admired. Now, chances are Phil's family will never get to watch this, and maybe that's for the best. But if they do stumble across this in some way, I'd just like them to know that we all thought Phil was special too. He really was one of the good guys, and I'm going to miss him. Okay, look, I apologise for the weird juxtaposition of today's show, but today's guest was booked long before we heard the sad news of Phil Jones passing. And ultimately, the coronavirus will be over soon, at some point. So tough as it is, we've just got to keep going and soldier on. Now, earlier today, I received details of a survey taken among tradespeople and contractors that says that almost 2/3 remain optimistic and believe that there will be an influx of projects commissioned following the current downturn in work. That survey also highlights that they've been using their downtime during the lockdown. 31% have said they've been learning new skills. 26% have been updating their social media and online reviews so they can drum up business when the lockdown is finally over. 14% have been doing online training. And I think most notably of all, a further 31% have been catching up on admin. Now, one of the key elements of admin for demolition contractors, obviously, is making sure that their accreditations are all in order ahead of a return to some sense of normality whenever that happens. So with that in mind, let me welcome today's guest. Eve Lamek. He works for Rev Consultants, a company that helps small and medium-sized construction companies get tender ready with accreditations such as CHAS, Construction Line, and I'm sure many more besides. Good afternoon, Eve, and thanks for joining us.
Hello, Mark. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Obviously, first question, just how important are accreditations in the modern construction world?
Accreditations are really important today, Mark, because they're an easy way for our clients and main contractors to ensure that we've got our tickets to kind of actually do the work, that we're in line with quality policies, health and safety, enviro, everything like that, and we're ready to get in and do what we need to do in line with regulations and standards. So I just want to take a moment and say sorry to hear about the bloke who passed as well, Phil Jones. It's really sad.
Yeah, thanks for that, Eve. Obviously, you're live, so that'll be passed on. But he really was. I know it's a bit of a cliche to say that when people do pass away, but he really was a lovely guy. You've mentioned the importance of accreditations. I mean, I guess in a lot of ways, particularly where you've got main contractors and clients searching for demolition contractors, possibly in an online area. Yeah. Accreditations are the first thing they look for in a lot of ways, I guess, are they?
Absolutely. So particularly for like your health and safety, for your SSIP, health and safety, it's just a baseline that most construction companies are looking for when they're going through the procurement process. And also it's sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
That's okay. Not a problem. I'm making this up as we go along anyway. Don't worry about that.
It is a baseline. It's a baseline for procurement. So I come from a main contractor background, and the first thing that we're looking for when we're in when we're procuring companies is that they've got those baseline accreditations, specifically the health and safety SSIP.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, we've got a lot of people at the moment. I know it's a bit of a mixed bag. There are some at work, some not at work, some halfway between the two. Why would now be a good time to look at upgrading or upscaling accreditations?
Well, because we're going to get busy again in a few months for sure. And we can't say how long it is, but it's that positive thing that we can focus on to just get ready, get stronger, get fitter, come out the other side. And when we are going into tender, knowing that we're coming out in a really strong position. It is competitive out there in the construction industry, and when we're putting in tenders, we don't want to be, just overlooked and dismissed because we don't have that paperwork in order, even though we're every bit as competent to do it as the next person.
Probably the obvious question at the moment, given that we're all in the world of social distancing, can accreditations actually be achieved remotely?
Yes, they can. So there are some accreditations where you need like sites and things like that, but by and large, your big ones, which is Construction Line and CHAS, it's purely done online. It's a review of your policies and procedures, and then from there, there's like a bit of feedback back and forth. But yeah, all online, all through their portal and emails.
So how long does the accreditation process take? I mean, I guess that varies from scheme to scheme, does it?
It does, but it's fairly quick actually. I think CHAS is kind of 2 days that they say that they'll come back to you on. Construction Line a couple of weeks. So the time is really in compiling your policies and getting those ready. But once you have your policies in place, so you have them updated, the actual accreditation process is usually quite quick, maximum a couple of weeks.
So quite potentially a very good use of your time while we're all sat at home watching Homes Under the Hammer or something.
Absolutely. Something positive that we can do so we can get ready on the other side to get busy and put ourselves out there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know the position that you where you sit in this, and I will come to that in a second, but it strikes me we do seem to have an absolute plethora of these accreditations, Construction Line and CHAS and Achilles and probably a dozen more that I haven't mentioned. without wanting you to commit too much, is there one that people should be looking at first and foremost, or is it just a case of you've got to have all the cards available to you and when you're going after a tender?
So we usually say the main thing that you want to have is the health and safety SSIP, which is something that you can get through CHAS, you can get it through Construction Line, you can get it through plenty of accreditation bodies, but that's your kind of main bottom line accreditation that you absolutely want to have when you're going out to tender. So we usually would say actually Construction Line, because that's just what we see more often come through at requested and tenders from clients. So that's usually what we suggest. But CHAS as well, is quite a few who ask for CHAS. And then usually we say something industry specific as well, industry specific or sector specific membership. I think it's the NFDC for demolition. It's usually quite good to have that kind of under your belt too, so you can demonstrate that you're up with the actual sector specific regulations.
Sure. Okay. So, what does your company do? What role does Rev Consultants play in all of this?
So we actually usually are primarily focused on tenders, but currently we've always done accreditations as well. So currently we're kind of shifting to that a bit more, because that's the way that we can support our clients at the moment. So we can take our clients through from whether they're just considering getting accreditations and they want to talk about which ones would be best, through to actually we create the policies, they can keep the policies, and all the way through to actually getting those accreditation certificates and badges to put on the website.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot slightly here with these accreditations. There is this idea that, you know, effectively some of these schemes, and I'm not saying CHAS or Construction Line, but some schemes, you fill in a form, you send a check, and that proves that you are in some way competent. Does it?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Well, it doesn't, does it? I think for these ones, you have to have quite specific policies, but yeah. Well, no, I don't know the answer to that.
No,
sorry.
I knew I was putting you on the spot. It's just one of the things that was striking.
Should it? That's
it
not
shouldn't.
Right.
No,
and I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think that's right at all if that's the case.
No, absolutely. So, I want to say thank you for your time today. Where can viewers find out more if they want to speak to you or get hold of Rev Consultants? Where do they find you?
Yeah, definitely. So, website is revconsultants.co.uk. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Eve Lamax, or Eve at revconsultants.co.uk.
Fantastic. Many thanks indeed for your help today, Eve.
Thanks for having me, Mark. Sorry for the nerves.
No, not a problem at all. You'll be as professional as me next time around.
Definitely.
That is a joke, I promise you. Thanks ever so much for your time.
Good afternoon. See you later.
Cheers.
Bye.
Right, I hope you found that useful. Obviously, trying to end on a positive note. Before I sign off today, I did want to share something with you that might just give you a bit of a different perspective on the crisis that we're all going through together at the moment. It is hard to see the wood for the trees at the moment. It is hard to see an upside to anything that's going on. And obviously, you know, the passing of Phil Jones, and sadly, he probably won't be the last. But according to Huffington Post, I looked this up this morning. According to Huffington Post, the majority of companies listed on the Fortune 500 list of, you know, the world's biggest and most successful companies were actually started in a recession. And those companies, just to give you an idea of the scale of them, those companies include IBM, General Motors, Disney, Microsoft, CNN, and Apple. All of them started their life in a recession. I think it's premature and probably inappropriate to talk of silver linings when dark clouds are still gathering. But we will beat the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, ultimately, you know, one way or another. Be it, you know, it might go off during the summer. It might be solved by some sort of inoculation. You know, the scientists are working around the clock to sort it out. When we do come out the other end, my personal belief is that it's the companies that are doing their planning and they're preparing now that stand to prosper. So yes, it is tempting to bury your head in the sand, to pull the duvet up over your head and wait for all this to go away. And certainly when you hear news of one of your friends in the industry succumbing to such a terrible disease. That is absolutely the temptation. But I do honestly believe that those companies that soldier on, that look after their staff, that keep upskilling, that get their accreditations in order, that learn while they can, improve while they can, hone their skills, trim the fat, really prepare for the upturn, because there will be an upturn at some point. Those are the guys that are going to prosper. Those are the ones I'm going to be watching. On that note, the usual ending is stay safe, look after yourself, look after your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Hopefully back tomorrow with something a little more upbeat. To anybody that's watching from Volvo, my deepest condolences. I'm sure you'll be missing Phil every bit as much as we all will. But stay safe, look after yourselves, and I will see you again tomorrow, 3 o'clock, live on the Demolition Daily live stream. Thanks for watching. Cheers.